What if I told you the US government is about to automatically register millions of young men for a military draft, and they're using your personal data to do it? This is Kenya News Update today. Coming up, you'll discover how a law passed last December is shifting the responsibility from you to them, and why critics say this could be a massive privacy violation that increases the risk of war. Meet the Selective Service System, a federal agency you've probably never heard of. Their job is to maintain a list of potential draftees for a national emergency. But here's the twist. Compliance has been falling. Millions of men aged 18 to 26 are supposed to register, but they don't. The penalties are huge, up to $250,000 in fines, 5 years in prison, and restrictions on citizenship. So the Trump administration and Congress decided to change the game. They passed the FY 2026 National Defense Authorization Act last December. This law shifts the burden. No longer will young men have to register themselves. Instead, the Selective Service System will build its registry automatically. They'll pull your personal data from multiple government databases. The goal is a streamlined process by December 2026. But here's what nobody's talking about. This isn't just about efficiency. The US military has been all volunteer since the 1970s. President Richard Nixon ended the draft to quell public anger over the Vietnam War. Registration stopped in 1975, but it came back in 1980 after the Soviet Union invaded Afghanistan. Now, the Pentagon faces a dual crisis. Recruiting volunteers is harder than ever. Standards have been lowered to fill the ranks, and maintaining the draft list manually is failing. So automation seems like the solution. But then, something shocking happened. Anti-war organizations sounded the alarm this week. They argue this automated system won't even produce an accurate list. More importantly, they say it will increase the likelihood of war. Why? Because if the government has a ready-made list of draftees at its fingertips, the barrier to entering a conflict lowers, and there's a massive privacy concern. Critics warn this aggregated database will be vulnerable to misuse. It could be weaponized by government entities or even private actors. Your personal information, compiled without your consent, for a potential draft. And here's the part that will blow your mind. This isn't just an American story. Across Western countries, there's a quiet push to prepare for large-scale conflict. In Germany, new rules introduced in January require men of fighting age to get permission before staying abroad for more than 3 months. Many were caught by surprise. So what does this mean for you? Even if you're in Kenya, this signals a global shift. Tensions are rising. Governments are preparing for the worst by tightening conscription policies. The implications are enormous. Privacy versus national security. Volunteer armies versus potential drafts. The very real fear that an automated list makes war more thinkable. Some say it's a necessary update for a dangerous world. Others call it a dangerous step toward militarization. But one question remains unanswered. If this system goes live in December and a crisis hits, who gets called first? And what happens to the data if there's no war? The debate is heating up in Congress with calls to reconsider. Do you think automating the draft is a smart move for security, or a reckless invasion of privacy that brings us closer to conflict? Drop your take in the comments. And remember, the world is more connected than ever. Subscribe to Kenya News Update today for more breaking global news that affects us all.